we've made it to 2013, and 2013 is where some big things happened that really affected almost everything we've done since. The first part is that while in the last part of 2012 I'd been working up in Texarkana, Fulton, Arkansas, to close down a project. That project finally closed down in April. And then May through December of 2013, I was working in Lake Charles, Louisiana, which was really pretty good duty because at the Lake Charles Airport Hair Care and Tire Center, you don't even pay for parking. So I was able to drive my truck down there at the beginning of the engagement and then get on an airplane and fly home. And I didn't have to carry any bags with me. I carried my briefcase. I just walked over there to the airport and get on the airplane, and an hour and a half later I was at DFW. It was about an hour and 15 minutes from the office in Lake Charles to being on the ground and off the airplane in DFW. Because at the Lake Charles Airport Hair Care and Tire Center, they don't open the TSA space until about 15 minutes for the plane boards. So there's really no reason to be there if you're not going to check a bag until about 15 minutes before the plane boards, and you don't have to pay for parking. So I'd leave the facility 30 minutes before my airplane to take off, go buy the laundry, drop off the clothes for the week so they would be clean on Monday when I got back, get on the airplane and be home, zip, zip. Really facilitated the back half of the year, me being home without having to gone through Atlanta or flying from Charlotte or all those things that make you really tired. So that was the first thing that really changed, is I was able to get home and be a little more rested. So let's kind of go through the year, and some were sparse in pictures in some places, but some places you'll see why it gets pretty dense. In January, we went to see Radney Foster. In February, we went to Cheer Sport in Atlanta. The Cheer Sport in Atlanta, that year we were staying at the Ritz-Carlton because I had been for several years staying in a Marriott hotel 3, 4, 5 days a week, and so we always had a whole bunch of points. So we didn't go to Cheer Sport in Atlanta, and instead of staying with 9 jillion cheerleaders tumbling up and down the halls all night, we would be on the concierge floor at the Ritz-Carlton. Cookies. In April, mid-April, 13th of April, don't have any pictures of it, but Cindy took me down to Rough Creek Lodge to the Chris Kyle 1,000-yard range. We took some rifles down there and spent some time on the 1,000-yard range, and Cindy showed why she really likes to shoot. She's ringing the 600-yard target with a 223, 5.56 223 AR. Ting, ting, ting at 600 yards, just lighting it up. She loves that gun. Then we went to the tactical range and dumped a bunch of rounds at the tactical range, had dinner at Rough Creek, and came back home. The 19th of April was Zac Brown Band. We will usually see Zac Brown Band, especially if he's at the Gexa. It's a great place to go see Zac and Zac Brown. That was one of the best shows that we've seen of Zac Brown's. It was just awesome. That was better than when we'd seen him at the WinStar. And then on the 20th of April, we went up to Oklahoma City, saw some family, got to take a picture with all my cousins that I don't ever get to see, second cousins. And we went out and shot and got a video. That's when Cindy decided that tannerite was about the coolest thing in the world. We went out and blew up some tannerite and got a video of that. The 21st of April is when I actually started Lake Charles. And then the 26th of April was the World's competition. And you'll see some pictures of that when we talk about cheerleaders. We got robbed at Worlds. We'll talk about that later. May 3rd through the 5th was the NRA convention. Again, not a lot of pictures because I could take a million pictures in the NRA and they wouldn't mean anything to me. But the NRA convention was down in Houston. So we were able to go down to Houston, met Chuck and Rebecca down there and did the NRA convention. If you're a gun person, go to the NRA convention. It's like Cindy and Elena were just beside themselves. And the NRA, when we went down to the NRA, one of the best things about that one, first of all, and there's a picture of Elena with Gunny. She really enjoyed talking to some of the people. She talked to an Olympic shooter. She was thinking about TCU. TCU has done really well in rifle. They've national champions a couple of times. And she got to talk to one of the Olympians from the gold medal team and an individual gold medalist. and she was looking for her deer rifle because she wanted a deer rifle. And she was looking at the Ruger American, and she was looking at the Remington 700. And she's kind of, the Remington booth and the Ruger booth were really close together. I don't think it's because it's alphabetical, but we'd go and she'd squeeze the trigger on the American and she'd squeeze the trigger on the 700. And she's standing in the Remington booth and she squeezes the trigger on the 700. And she said, I think I like the trigger on the Ruger American. And the Remington guy's like, well, you know, this is a sub MOA gun, and that Ruger's maybe a 1.5, 2 MOA gun. And Elena looked at him like he was a bug and said, he's going to spend about $1,000. I'd rather have a $300 rifle and a $700 optic than a $700 rifle and a $300 optic. That's my baby. I've never been so proud. Shut that guy down right now. It's funny. That was in May. In June, 15th of June, we had a pontoon boat. We'd done pontoon boats last year in 2012, 2013. We did the pontoon boat thing. Nicholas and Josh were here. Shauna and her kids were up, and we had a day on the lake. We went out to Lake Louisville and rented a pontoon boat, and all God's children were out there on the lake. And it was a Father's Day. We had a Father's Day get-together on Lake Louisville on a pontoon boat, cruised around on the pontoon boat all day. Hysterical fun. Everybody's laughing and enjoying. And again, think about the things that Cindy puts together. This is another deal. I'm thinking, how much is the pontoon boat and what are we going to do? And man, we showed up, did the pontoon boat, loaded that bad boy up, cruised around the lake. Everybody had a great time, and it was one of the only Father's Days in a very, very long time that I got to spend with my boys. That was a special, special day. Talked about Cindy being the cruise director and making sure that, even on pontoon boat, she's all the time putting things together for people. Well, in this case, I'm traveling back and forth, and I'm not thinking about her birthday very far in advance, and it's like Thursday before her birthday weekend, and I don't have a plan, and that's kind of ugly. So I call my cousin Shannon. I call Shannon Chestnut. I was like, hey, cuz, I need you to throw a birthday party for my wife this weekend. You up for it? It's all good. Just like that, we got a birthday put together for Cindy. So we go up to Oklahoma City for Cindy's birthday. We have a big pool party and a barbecue that Shannon put on because I had not done it. Well, I'm a bad husband. Shannon bailed me out. We had a great birthday. Spent a lot of time talking with people, barbecuing, drinking beer. It was a great time. Shannon bailed me out, and it was a great party. An interesting note here: I'd had a Nikon D80 for a bunch of years, and I'd been reading about off-camera flash, where you put the camera, you use the flash on the camera to transmit information to the flash that you put off camera, so that you can take much better pictures than that flash on top of the camera. You know, people look like Bambi caught in front of a Peterbilt. And so I kind of figured out, we were sitting out by the pool the first night, and I'm playing with the flash and playing, and I figured out how to do the off-camera flash thing. And that has importance on what happened next. So the 5th of July, we went down to Wimberley, found this great place. Peaceful Haven is a place that we went to several times subsequently. And because I'd figured out the off-camera flash, Cindy offered, you know, if you want to take some pictures, some portraiture, some more, you know, things, pictures of her with the off-camera flash, a little bit of maybe a little more stylistic or artistic pictures, you know, maybe we could do that. And she brought some clothes, and we took a bunch of pictures. There's only a couple of them here. She probably won't let me share the rest of them, but really neat pictures. And then from there we went. We were going back towards Dallas, and we took a roundabout way, and I took a picture. This Volkswagen Beetle picture will show up again. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the photography that weekend was the first time I had really started thinking about learning about photography. I've been doing some studying and doing some things. So that trip to Wimberley, after I had learned to do the off-camera flash up at Shannon's, and then we went down to Wimberley and took those pictures. It was the next step in me doing some pictures, so that when we went to Don Pedro, I was kind of prepped. So we went down to Wimberley, and then a week later, on the the 12th of July, we headed for Tampa, Florida, for Don Pedro. Don Pedro Island. Our beach trip in 2013 was at Don Pedro Island, which is an island not far from Tampa. The only way on the island is a ferry, and it costs like $60 to take the ferry off the island. Getting on's free, but if you want to leave, it's $60. So we go down there and filled the truck up with groceries, went to the grocery store, bought all the groceries in the world so we wouldn't have to come off the island, went back over to Don Pedro and spent the week on an island. You know, we would be out on the beach in the daytime and there wouldn't be people within 150 yards of us. It was probably our favorite beach that we've been to. The problem is that it's a probably 17-hour drive. We haven't been back to Don Pedro because it's so long, but this was the next step in the photography stuff, and Cindy was really supportive of the photography, and we did all kind of cool stuff. These are pictures that we would take a string and put like a whisk on the end of a string and stuff it with, stuff it with steel wool, and then you light the steel wool and spin the string and you get these flames. We did long exposure photography with flashlights. I was doing landscape photography. Long exposure photography. There was a lot of cool things that I explored in photography down there and really grew as a photographer, all with Cindy's help and Cindy's encouraging me. And Cindy got me a great tripod for my birthday. It's a Manfrotto tripod. I'm like no tripod I've ever had in my life, and it's been phenomenal. And but it's a long trip up and back. We did stop. One of the interesting things on the trip, we stopped at a place that Lewis Brothers Burgers, and they have a peanut butter and jelly hamburger. And we all looked at it and we're like, peanut butter and jelly on a hamburger. And Lena jumped in. She's going to try it. Everybody had to take a bite of it. It was awesome. Great hamburger. And we stopped in Lafayette, Louisiana on the way back and had our first deep fried bacon that's coated in brown sugar. It's brown sugar bacon deep fried. Ooh. That was a good eating trip. Then later in July, in fact, it was like not that we were in Florida the 13th through the 20th. On the 27th, we had Logan's birthday. And so we went to Mimi and Granddad's and had a bunch of kids there and took a bunch of pictures of a bunch of kids. Again, the off-camera flash thing was working for me. I had the strobes up and was using off-camera flash to light it so that we could get a wider group of people. That was the weekend that Stacy brought the flat Benjamin. So we had, Benjamin was deployed. We had the flat Benjamin. Everybody's taking a picture of Benjamin. Benjamin's all the group shots. Flat Benjamin's there. Then the first part of August, we took a day trip down to Austin. Cindy found a piece of furniture down there a lady was getting rid of, and we went down to Austin, took some pictures, had some beer, drove back up. Again, learning, taking pictures, doing things. So after the trip that we took down to Austin, Cindy told me, you're getting pretty good at this photography stuff. And for Valentine's Day, which was several months before, she had thought about doing like a boudoir photography book for me. And in Dallas, the really good boudoir photographers, it's like $1,500 for a photography book. And she's like, I don't think so, Tim. But then after she saw the pictures that we took in Wimberley and was seeing the way I was enjoying the photography and she was enjoying posing, she said, hey, how about we rent a nice suite at the Hotel Zaza and you can take some boudoir pictures yourself? Score! So we go to the Hotel Zaza. Now, because Cindy wants things to be perfect, she goes to the Hotel Zaza. And this Hotel Zaza in Dallas has what they call the Magnificent Seven. There are 7 suites, and they're all decorated differently. There's the Rockstar Suite and the Crouching Tiger Suite and the Bohemian Suite, and the one that she really liked, and she went and looked at all of them, was the Bohemian Suite. Real Toulouse-Lautrec, Paris, overstuffed stuff that would be really cool to take boudoir pictures. So she reserved the Bohemian Suite. And we get there, and the Zaza has the express check-in thing where people come up and they can see their name on the card, and they just pull the card and go to the room. They don't have to check in. And so we go to check in, And the bellman, we get up to the room because we got all this photography equipment and light stands and all that stuff. And he said, man, I think I've checked somebody into the suite. And Cindy's like, no, I've got it reserved. And he said, no, I think so we go back downstairs. Well, somebody, I mean, their name was like Powell, or it was close to Kroll. And they saw Kroll, and they pulled the card, and they went and checked in, and they went out to dinner. So we can't get the suite that Cindy had planned to do the photography in, and she was hacked off and very, very disappointed. She wore out 3 sets of kneecaps kicking this manager in the behind. I mean, tore him up, and then finally was so frustrated she was in tears because she had made this plan. So this guy comps us the Crouching Tiger suite, which is like a 3,000 square foot suite with 2 bedrooms, 3 and 2.5 baths, a kitchen. It's huge. So we did our boudoir photography weekend in the Crouching Tiger suite at the Hotel Zaza that would have cost us $2,000 a night. But Cindy was still disappointed because she had coordinated the clothes that she had for the whole Bohemian Toulouse-Lautrec thing. So she wasn't pleased with the costuming that she had, but we still ended up with some really great pictures, which I got to tell you, it's pretty easy to take great pictures of Cindy. It's not like you have to be a great photographer. When you point a camera at her, it's pretty hard to screw up. But anyway, here's some of the pictures that we took that weekend, and many of them were just phenomenal. And it's some of my favorite photography that I've taken. We did that weekend at the Zaza. So 9/27. Now, this was the first year of my. This was the beginning of my state fair run. The guy that cuts Cindy's hair, John Romero, mentioned to her that the arts and crafts thing, they have a photography competition at the state fair. So I had taken pictures on the trip that we took to Wimberley, and some pictures around some of the beer places and the barbecue places and stuff that we went that I was pretty happy with. So I had them printed. In fact, in the bookcase behind me, you can see some of the pictures that I entered in state fair competition. And so this first year, one of the pictures that I had made was going to be in the state fair, and I got a notification that I got an honorable mention at the Texas State Fair. So I'm like, the State Fair of Texas is actually what it's called. So we were going to go see which photograph won and how I did. So we call Mimi, and Mimi's in, and so we go to the State Fair of Texas, and that was at the end of September. And here's a picture of my little ribbon with my honorable mention at the State Fair of Texas. It was an exciting day for me. And then at the end of September, we went to the 77, 78, 79 Bowie High School reunion at Jay Gilligan's over in Arlington, and ran into a bunch of people. It was really interesting. It turns out that we went to high school with a bunch of old people. I didn't realize that. One of the guys that was there, his name's Bob Hoover. He had been an offensive lineman. Knew Bob back in the day. Bob was in my class. And we're talking to Bob Hoover, and it turns out that Bob Hoover is an engineer at the Hanford Reservation in the DOE complex. And I had been out and back and forth to Hanford when I was in the DOE world, and in fact, later on, we'll talk about that in 2018. I spent a lot of time at Hanford, and so ran into Bob Hoover, and he got the furthest traveling for the reunion because he came from Hanford, Washington. 11/27, we did Elena's birthday. Josh was here for Thanksgiving, and we did Elena's birthday. What we did with Josh, went to Perry's Steakhouse, which is one of our favorite places to go. Took some pictures there. Christmas of 2013, bunch of firsts here. 2013 was the first of our themed Christmases. The theme for the first year was ugly sweaters, and you can tell that by the pictures that people were wearing ugly sweaters. That was also the first year that we did Dirty Santa. The Dirty Santa where you swap gifts and steal gifts. And Ben and Stacy brought this NSA pen, and it's like a little rocket ship, and you push it and it unfolds, and everybody was fascinated by it. And that pen has shown up every couple of years since 2013, and it's kind of a deal. If Elena or Austin bring somebody that's a dating person and they win it, we make sure they understand that the pin stays with the family. The NSA pin stays with the family. And again, because we had the light stands and a little bit of off-camera lighting, we're able to gather people up and take some pictures of the groups of people. And we hadn't gotten to the photo booth yet, but that was the first year that we really consciously took a bunch of pictures for the folks. Now, I've kind of held off until the end to talk about the really big step level change and the stuff that we did together, what Cindy and I did together, and that is for cheerleading. There's some pictures. Here's a video of what it was like to be at a cheer competition. I'll just let you listen to that and let you know how tough it is to go to competition after competition and watch for 3 minutes and then spend the next several hours listening to the thumping bass and people screaming for people that you don't care about. Here's the video. Yeah, welcome to my world. So I was taking pictures for some of the cheerleaders, before and after, and Elena had made varsity cheer, so she was going to be a varsity cheerleader that fall in 2013. And the varsity cheer program at TCA, what they do is they would have a mom sign up to take pictures on the sidelines, and all the moms would then take the pictures and share the pictures, and then each mom would be responsible for one scrapbook page for that game. So each game would have a scrapbook page, and each pep rally would have a scrapbook page. And that mom that was the designated camera mom would take the pictures and share them out to people and whatever. So nobody was signing up. And so Cindy said, well, hey, we'll take pictures. And Cindy signed me up for the whole season. And one of the other moms, neat lady, had two, her fraternal twins were both on the varsity team as seniors. And she really wanted to be on the sideline to take pictures, so she was a little put out that somebody else was going to take pictures on the sidelines and she wasn't going to get to sign up. And, Cindy was like, hey, nobody was signing up, so we signed up. So I showed up at the first game to take pictures. Well, there is no more challenging environment to take pictures than the sidelines for the cheerleaders, because usually the track is black or the track is dark. It's non-reflective. Everybody's moving. Everything's going on. The lights are focused on the field. The lights are not focused on the cheerleaders. You're pushing your ISO up to 6400. You're constantly doing exposure adjustments. I mean, it is a very, very difficult environment to take pictures in. Well, I had the lenses that would do it well, and I understood the technical things that you needed to do because I'd been studying up on this photography. So after I took pictures of the first game and pushed them out, put them on a share drive and sent links to everybody and said, here are the pictures from the game, all the other moms went, no, he'll be the picture guy. So Cindy and I became the photographers for the varsity cheer program at TCA. So we went to every game and we're on the sidelines at every game. And because I was traveling, I'm still going back and forth to Lake Charles, we would come home with 1,500, 2,000 frames of that game. And if I didn't get them processed immediately, then I'd get behind, and pretty soon I'd be 3 or 4 weeks behind. So we'd get through shooting the game and I'd come back home and I would be processing pictures and doing zit-zapping and post-processing on the pictures and come out with 125, 150 pictures, and then upload them and then send the email out before I'd go to bed. So it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning before I'd get finished. And the thing that was so neat about it is that Cindy and I shot together. I had the D80. I was shooting the D80 Nikon. One of the neat things I found out is that if you say something about, if I had this kind of camera, I could take better pictures of your daughter, it shows up. We got a D7100, so we're both shooting Nikon cameras, and we got lenses, and we're swapping lenses and shooting. So that was the first year that we took pictures of the cheerleaders. And one more little Cynthia Kroll story. If you'll notice, the pink bows for the breast cancer awareness and the senior night, the white bow was senior night, Cindy did bows, custom bows, built the bows. She made them for those nights, and senior night bows and the Susan G. Komen pink bows. And the girls absolutely loved them. I mean, they went nuts. They thought these bows were just the coolest thing in the world. And now we found out that here it is, several years after Elena has left the cheer world, and one of the things that they've got now is the bow making mom. Cindy started a whole process, a whole tradition with TCA Cheer because she started bows that year. So there's a bunch of pictures, and they've been showing while I talked about this. So 2013 was when photography became a big part of what we do, not only for me in terms of the portraiture and the landscape and the long exposure and playing games with cameras. It was something that Cindy and I got to do, and we got to spend time together. Remember, we're a couple, so we would do all the camera work for the cheerleaders, and that was Elena's junior year, and that was the first year that photography became really big in what we do. That was 2013.